you had an accident where a deer jumped out on the track. Do you remember anything from what happened before, after?
I remember seeing the deer, Paul. I remember seeing the deer. And it was crossing like the track from my left to my right. Last thing I remember, I was like thinking, of course, that's the split of a second, like, mother broke my front wing.
Da Matta-san, what's going on, brother?
Hey, Paul, it's good to see you, man.
Man, it's
long
been
time no see, but it's great to see you, Paul.
It's been
great
a long
you,
time. I was just saying to you off camera, I said, I think the last time I saw you was maybe 06, 07. So it's almost 20 years since I've seen you.
2 decades almost, man. Time flies, eh?
It's crazy. The time flies.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. You know what? I think last time I didn't get to see you, but I saw you were nearby when you came over to race that NASCAR Brazil race.
Yeah.
I was that 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was the last time Paul is there. Maybe I might should go there and meet Paul.
Are you?
But
do you live?
Brazil is complicated, man, to find flights and all that. So I end up not going there.
Do you live far from that track?
Well, good, like 350, 400 miles.
Oh, so it's pretty far then.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful track.
It's nice. Yeah, I've never been there, actually.
Yeah, really nice. A guy, I guess a
new place.
Private guy owns it, and Tarso called me one time and his brother and said, "Hey, you want to come do a race?" And I'm like, "Okay, you pay for the flights and I'll come down." And it was super fun.
Mm-hmm. Looked like.
So
one thing you said right after the race. You actually said one thing. In an interview after the race, you said to someone who's like, "Man, this feeling to win a race, there's been a long time I don't feel this, man. What a feeling this is." And when you said that, I was like, "Man, that feeling to win a race was correct, man. That's probably the greatest feeling I remember on the top of my head, man. That's unique, man. That's like, it was like, I'm not sure if I'll ever feel that again, but that's a feeling that I got it in my heart."
Hey, it's Paul Tracy. Quick heads up for all you hardcore racing fans. Racers got a killer deal right now. Stream the best in motorsports with Racer Plus and get a full year of Racer Magazine. 6 badass collectible issues, all bundled and discounted. We're talking live WRC, Dakar, Crandon Off-Road, DTM, British Touring Cars, Le Mans, World Superbike, and even the Isle of Man TT, all in one place. Hit up racer.com/bundle and fuel up on all the best racing from around the world. That's racer.com/bundle. Yeah, it was incredible for me because it'd been so long since I'd won a race. My last win was in 07, and then the feeling when you win and you feel great, right? And then and that's what you live, man. That's what you live for from when you were a kid, and that's all you want to do is win. And when you win, you feel great, and when you're not winning, you don't feel great. And then when you don't have that, you miss it, right? And I mean, even though it was just to win a race, I mean, it just felt really good to have that feeling again.
I bet, man. I bet, Paul.
Yeah. So let me start this off. I always start off these interviews with the stats of what you've done. You were a Brazilian Formula 4 champion, Brazilian F3 champion. You came to America. You were the '97 Indy Lights champion, and then 2002 IndyCar champion with 12 wins, 20 podiums, and 7 poles. And then you went on and you did F1 and you scored 14 points in F1, and what a career, man.
It was a great career, but when I look back today, as a 51-year-old I am now, I look back and, man, my career was extremely short, Paul.
Yeah.
Because I started racing, I was already 16-year-old, which you race go-karts.
I know. I didn't know this. I didn't know that your dad was like a 14-time touring car champion in Brazil.
Yeah,
but
my father won
why
all
did
kinds
you
of Brazilian touring
start?
car championships here.
Yeah, why did he start you so late?
Well, because he was busy driving and he had the family, and the way things are in Brazil at the time, he had to work to put food on the table for the kids to eat and for us to go to school and so on. So he kept on telling me, man, I really wanted to, because of course I mentioned to him that I wanted to race, but he came to me and said, man, I'm only gonna let you go racing when I can actually give you proper equipment to go there and race properly, not just to be a number on the grid, right?
Yeah.
Just to be one extra go-kart in the grid. When I can give you the equipment so you can go and fight for wins, then I'll let you go race. But that only happened when he found like a sponsorship, somewhere that we were able to actually start racing. So I was already 16-year-old.
This podcast is brought to you by Racer and Racer.com, the leading motorsports news and information source in North America. With special thanks to trusted silver and gold trading partner and studio sponsor ITM Trading. Yeah, like Tony and Castro Neves and all these guys, they started when they were like 6, 7, 8 years old, and you started.
Yeah.
I mean, you started at 16. You should have
They
been
were veterans.
You should have been
Tony and Elliot, they were famous guys when I got started already.
Yeah, you should have been in cars at that point, but you started go-karting when they were already getting in cars.
Yeah, when I was starting, because usually you start in juniors and go-karts, right?
Yeah.
But I was so old because I was 16-year-old, I couldn't start on juniors anymore. So I started on rookie, which is a rookie class.
Yeah.
Which you can be whatever age you are, but you are a rookie. So you're a rookie. So up until then, you can get to graduate B, graduate A, and so on. So when I was studying rookies, Tony had already quit racing go-karts. And Castro Neves, he was already the graduate A series, which was the top of the class.
Yeah.
But it was funny because I had heard, of course, of them many times before, because I was obviously following go-karts and so on. So I was into racing always because of my dad at home and so on. So they were famous guys, and I was like looking at those guys, one day I'll be just like these guys,
So did you go, as a kid, did you go to the races with your dad and help and work on the car and all that kind of stuff?
No, because my dad would only allow me to go to the races if I was doing good at school, which wasn't the case at the time. So eventually, when I was actually doing well at school, he would let me go to races. And then, man, I used to love it. Get there and to talk to the mechanics and just to listen to my dad talking to the team and to the engineers. It was so much fun, man. I was like, well, you were definitely what I want to do,
You were definitely good at driving, maybe not school, but driving, because your progression was super fast. You went karting championship, Formula Ford champion, F3 champion, and then you go to Europe and you're going your progression was really fast from karts to get to IndyCar was only just a few maybe 5 years.
No, it's one thing that was funny for me when I look back today, when I did my first season in IndyCars, in champ cars, whatever you want to say, you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
So I remember that was 1999, Homestead Racing Miami, and I qualified 6th. And beside me was starting Michael Andretti, man. And I was looking at that, 9 years before that, I was on my rookie race in the Minas Gerais State Championship. And I was like, 9 years later, I'm there sitting just by Michael Andretti beside me. I was like, wow, man, some responsibility here. I better get my act together because things are starting to get serious here.
Yeah. So when
I look back, I can see that it was very fast. Everything went very, very fast. But at the time, it was just a natural pace, natural learning and so on.
So when you were in Europe racing F3, how did the opportunity come to Indy Lights? Was it the same as Tony? Like Marlboro came and said, okay, we're going to give you a test. Was it the same thing?
It was kind of similar, but it was different because I had the deal with a pharmaceutical company here from Brazil.
Yeah.
And they came to me, they were actually putting out the money to get me to race, right? And they came to me and said, Cristiano, check this out. If you do Formula 3, Formula 3000 at a time, which is the Formula 2 for today, then you get Formula 1. To get into Formula 1, man, you need this X amount of millions of dollars to get into F1. And man, let's be realistic. This isn't going to happen. We are not prepared for that. And if you get that, you are going to get into Formula 1 in probably the worst team of the grid. You're going to be starting last or maybe within the last 3-4 cars of the grid. So look at that. Look at all these Brazilian guys doing well in America and in Indy cars. And check this out. Check at Christian, Roberto Moreno, and check all these guys here, you know?
Yeah.
And Emerson, of course, was the main guy at the time. And so it's a lot more clear. It looks a lot more accessible, you know, in terms of the money we got and the opportunity you may have. It's way better if you go to America instead of keep on racing here in Europe. Why don't you go there and do that test in the Indy Lights team, which was Brian Stewart, our Canadian buddy, right?
Yeah, I drove for Brian. Yeah.
Yeah, Brian told me many times, you know, Tracy, and so I had a great time with Brian, and it was great to race for Brian. But you know then I started with Brian.
You know what's funny is Brian Stewart is he's dating my older sister now.
Brian, really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a nice story to tell people.
Yeah. So I mean, Tony drove for Tasman, you drove for Brian, but Brian Stewart was really the best team at the time. At that time, Brian Stewart was a really good team.
Yeah, Brian Stewart, they were actually, you know, maybe wheel to wheel with Tasman. And my rookie season, actually, I finished the championship third, which was 97. And Tony won the championship for Tasman.
Yeah.
Casper Neves finished second, and they were in their second season. And for me, it was my first season and learning ovals, and especially coming from Europe, learning to race in street courses mainly, because in Europe, it's only road courses. So there was a lot of things to get used to.
Yeah.
And I was already able to finish the championship third. And actually, I won more races than Tony that year. I remember I won 3 races and Tony only won 2. But of course, I crashed a bunch of times and Tony didn't. So at the end of the day, so I got the actually offer from Tasman to race for them the following year.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's perfect. Then 98, I raced for Tasman and then won the championship that year.
Yeah. And then that was when Toyota came into the scene, and I mean, you win the Indy Lights championship, and they sign you as their factory guy, and you're driving for Cal Wells, and I mean, it was a really, really good team, like organized team.
Yeah, but you know, the Toyota wasn't in line. Cal Wells actually came in first because the way the series that were going at the time, at the end of the season, they're doing this test with 5 different drivers. And I was invited to be I was one of these 5 guys. So I went there and tested the car.
Who were the 5? Who were the 5 guys?
I know that, and I'm sure the one Italian guy, which was, I think it was Naspetti.
Yeah.
Casper Neves was one of them. But we couldn't be at the track at all when the other guys were driving.
Okay.
We couldn't even know who the other guys were.
Okay.
Of course, with the years going by, we end up getting to know who the other ones were. But it always started with Cal Wells. He gave me the test, and then I got started. And then the connection with Toyota, who took me, you know, all the way from Newman Haas and off the F1 and so on.
Yeah. So you're successful right away. I mean, you won with Cal Wells and won an oval, which you said you weren't very good at. You didn't know how to drive the ovals, but your first win was,
you know what?
On an oval.
With my year, especially with my year at Brian Stewart, he got me a lot of miles on ovals testing.
Yeah.
And that was great for me because actually, you know, driving ovals is not the same as driving road courses. So it's a different technique, right? The whole process is different. So I got to learn that, and I was, I'm starting to figure this out, you know, and miles and more miles. And I was starting to feel better and better in the ovals. And I was actually, my first win at Indy Lights was in an oval too.
Yeah. So Michael leaves Michael was at Newman Haas, Mario was at Newman Haas, but basically most all of his career. And then Michael decides to leave and buy part of the team I was on. I was at Team Cool Green. Michael buys part of the team, leaves Newman Haas, and then obviously the door opens up for you. They switch from Ford to Toyota, and then you go to Newman Haas, which was, at that time, Newman Haas was one of like the top teams. It was top two, I think.
Yeah. They were always like one of the teams who were fighting for the championship in champ cars. So it was for me, now I'm getting into a team that is going to definitely give me the opportunity to, if I can win the championship, these guys are going to give me the chance. Of course, with all the differences, how motor racing is, with the chassis and motors and tires and so on, so many changes year after year. So, but definitely there was one of the teams that, being a boy, dreaming to be in Indy cars one day, definitely Newman Haas is one of the teams you want to be with.
Yeah, I mean, you said your first race, you're sitting on the grid sixth, and you're looking over, and there's Newman Haas car with Michael Andretti in it, Texaco car. Now a couple years later, you're in the same car that Michael's has been driving his whole career.
2 years after that, I was in that car. It was funny, man. It happens just like that. But when you were there, it doesn't go that fast. But when I look back today, I was, man, imagine that. I was like 15-year-old when I got started there. When I was 26, I was still with Cowell's at PPI.
Yeah.
Then by 27, I was sitting in that car Michael Andretti was driving. I was like, now we're talking,
So the first year with Newman Haas was 2001?
2001, yes.
Yeah. And what car did you run then? Was it the Swift then, or was it a Lola?
No, it was a Lola. It was a Lola with Toyota engine.
Yeah. That year, Lola, I think 2001, I don't think that was a very good car, but the 2002 car, I mean, that was a really good car. I don't know what they changed from one year to the next, but like 2002, you kicked everybody's ass. I mean, you dominated the whole championship, the and poles and, race wins. You had 7 wins. And I mean, that car seemed to suit you really well.
Yeah. And the whole team, I remember the whole 2001, we were working with Lola to get the car because the car was very, very, very sensitive to ride heights.
Yeah.
So I had to work very hard to keep the rear always low. But of course, you have to compromise a lot of different things to get the rear to work that low all the time. And of course, if you fall a little bit, if you miss the window by this much, then you're done, man. You have nowhere to go. You're just there, just trying to finish the race. And I remember we worked with the Lola guys in 2001 and always, making, not complaining, but, saying we need this bigger window for rear ride height.
Yeah.
Rear ride height, we need a bigger window there, we need a bigger window there so we can play with this and this and this. And it's going to give us a lot of different options. And Lola, when they got us the 2002 chassis, they said, you know what, the total downforce is very similar to what you had last year, but the window for ride height is this much bigger, man.
Yeah.
You're not going to believe. And I remember shake down the car, go out and do 2 laps, and we were already in Sebring faster than we were in 2001. It was crazy, the difference.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I think for me personally, like that 02 car, I ran the 02 Lola from 03 when I went to Players. No, we had it at Cool. We switched from a Reynard mid-season to
you guys switched mid-season,
we switched cars.
Correct,
and as soon as I got in the car, I was like, holy shit, this car's so much better than the Reynard. But I think, for me, that car is probably one of my favorite Indy cars that I ever drove. Like it just was a really good handling car, not too difficult to get set up. It was easy to get close in the window. And I mean, in those times when we were racing in those times, like you said, when you were developing the car, I didn't know that because you guys were the only ones running the 2001 Lola. I don't think many people ran that car. But that was a time
we were
when,
the only guys. Yes.
yeah, that was a
Maybe
time.
there was another team, but we were the main guys running the 2001 Lola.
Yeah, but that was a time when you could bring a different underwing, make a new underwing, make new wings, make new suspension parts.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, that time was, now everything is spec. You can't do anything to the car. It's like all you can do is like play with shocks, springs, and roll bars. And I mean, it's so much different now than it was then. I mean,
change the camber.
Yeah, that period of time, like the cars were so fast and had so much power, and you had some freedom to develop parts on the car.
Yeah, no, that was fun, man. And one thing that happened at the time, which is of course the way it is today. If you look at the driver's point of view, for every driver, it's better because it's more equal equipment for everybody, correct?
Yeah.
But it doesn't give you the skill to maybe develop something else, to think outside the box, let's say. You had to, drive it thinking on something that are not there at the time. But you know that if you talk to someone at the garage, they're going to maybe come up with a design and come up with something that are going to give you that ability that you don't even dream of having at the time of the day.
Yeah.
So it's kind of different days, I'd say.
Yeah. But I mean, that time in IndyCar, the cars were really quick, pretty quick on road courses. And then you obviously, you had a great season in 2002, and then Toyota takes you to Formula One. So like, how was that transition? Because, so many like F1 now, they all say, oh, guys from IndyCar can't do a Formula One. They're not fast enough, blah, 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 blah. But, Juan was doing really well in Formula One. You came in with Toyota, new team, and first year you did really well. So how was that that IndyCar, the transition to Formula One? Was it hard? Was it easy? Was the car similar?
The car, remember that at the time they were running those grooved tires.
Yeah,
and those grooved tires were the main difference for everything. The way you drive it normally, you want to carry speed into the corner. You want to try to keep the minimum speed as low as you can, and to get back in the throttle soon, and so on. But with those grooved tires, the thing that was difficult for me, because the minimum speed and nothing is the same. It's important. All you have to do, and of course, for me, on the first couple of months driving the car, it wasn't something I could do natural. But of course, looking at the data and the guys at the team helping me, you have to, when you look at the driving line, people say like you have to V the corner, because you get into like a diagonal line going in, braking, then you get it turned and off.
Yeah. So you V the corner,
quick in, quick out.
V the corner like this.
Yeah, you made the corner like a V corner. So, and that to get that natural for my driving, which I had never done that before. So it's kind of strange up until you get to a point. But one thing for me that was very difficult, I think I would say maybe not more difficult than to driving those grooved tires. I think the most difficult thing at the time, it was the very little practice time we had.
Yeah.
Because we have like hour and a half on Friday morning, then one lap on Friday afternoon. Because they have that one lap kind of deal for qualifying and so on. Yeah. So the one lap on the Friday afternoon, after you decide where you're going to go out on the Friday afternoon, on the Saturday afternoon. So I had only hour and a half Friday morning and hour and 15 minutes on Saturday morning, one lap Friday afternoon, one lap Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
And then go race.
So 03.
And of course, warm up and race.
Yeah. 03, you did really well. You scored 10 points. You have a good season. Some top six finishes. 04, I looked at the results and I was like, I mean, you still were scoring points. You scored like 4 points and you were outplaced your teammate Panis. And then mid-season, they decided to take you out of the car. Like, why? You were doing about the same, scoring points. Like you see a lot of drivers now that you watch F1 and they make a huge deal if a guy scores 1 point, and you scored 10 in your first season and 04, maybe the car wasn't as good. You're still scoring points and beating your teammate, but why did they take you out of the car?
Because, looking back now, it's easy to see. I didn't know how to handle it was clear in 2004 what the problem was. Like engineering they hired to develop the car, the 2004 car, they came into the team as the guy who was gonna design the new car to fight for the championship.
Yeah.
But he put the car, first time he brought the 2004 car to the track against 2003. That's off season 2004, right?
Yeah.
So first day the car goes to the track to run with the 03 car, and the car was slower right away. And I remember, of course, Olivier Panis was driving at the time because he had 10 or more years of experience in F1, and I only had 1 season. So Olivier started, and I remember looking at Olivier's eyes at that day, and Olivier was like, okay. And of course, when he was out of the car, and it was only me and him, he was just, man, I'm not sure about this, because usually what I'm used to, first time you get the new car against the old car, easily a second quicker. And Rubens Barrichello, which I'm very good friends with Rubens, and Rubens had told me that before too. He said, man, you're going to see, one day you're going to get your Paul Ricard after you spend all these days at Paul Ricard and fighting setups and different things. And when you get there with the 04 car, first time the 04 car goes to the track, it's going to be a second quicker.
Yeah.
And then I remember it wasn't like that. And Olivier said, man, I'm not sure, because we were actually a little slower, than the 03 car. And
so they replaced you and put Zonta.
Of course, the problem is,
but then a couple races later, they replaced Panis, who's 10 years experience. He's won races. They take him out, and the 2 drivers they put Fisichella in, and neither of them did any better either. This wasn't like it was any change. It was like they actually ran worse than what they were running with you guys.
But at the end of the day, it's all, I think, considering Toyota is a pretty big company, correct?
Yeah.
Car manufacturer. So, and they had a lot of money on the table, and a lot of money, which is pure marketing, right? And it's a marketing that at the time wasn't doing any good for the whole factory, for selling more cars. So I believe there were a lot of pressure inside the whole Toyota, the whole company, the whole thing was probably a lot of pressure, and they had to answer a lot of different guys, and they start to come up with excuses, I guess. But, one thing that, I'm happy about, on I think it was 2006, we were racing IndyCars in Long Beach.
Yeah.
I was with Dave Coyne that year on that race, and I see one guy hanging out there with a Toyota shirt. And Toyota wasn't sponsoring any teams or anything in the event, not even the All-Stars race. There was not much going with Toyota there. And I was wondering, what is this Toyota guy doing here? And the Toyota guy, all of a sudden, I meet the Toyota guy in a smaller place, and the guy said, Da Matta-san. So yes. And I didn't know the guy. He said, I'm here in the name for Toyota because Toyota asked me to come here to say to you that they know the mistakes they've made, and they would like me to say sorry for you because they know they were wrong. You were right, and they asked me to say sorry for you. And of course, I said, I'm very glad Toyota is doing that for me. But in my view, as a race car driver, it's a little bit too late.
Yeah.
But, coming from Toyota, I accept that. And of course, we had great time together, had championships and wins together and so on. So the relationship we had is going to be, in my mind, as for my career, is going to be forever.
Yeah.
So I'm always going to be grateful for them. And I'm also grateful for them that better too late than never, but they found out that everything I was saying at the time, that was a little
Yeah.
There's a little connection at the end of the day, you know.
If you like this show, hit the like and subscribe button at the bottom and drop us a comment if you want any guests, special guests. Let us know who you want and we'll try to get them on. So, I mean, I'm going to go to Road America. We were testing there and you had an accident where a deer jumped out on the track. I remember that day very well because it was really hot that day. And you came out of turn 5 and you went up the hill. And do you remember anything from what happened before, after?
I remember seeing the deer, Paul. I remember seeing the deer. And it was crossing like the track from my left to my right. And I remember thinking, I tried to go all the way to the left, but I remember my right front wing hit it. And last thing I remember, I was like thinking, of course, that's the split of a second, like, mother broke my front wing. and then shut off. And then, of course, if I had died or anything similar, I wouldn't even get to know, man, because everything just switch off,
Yes.
completely switch off for about 2 months, you know.
Yeah, it was a really weird day because deers are like, they're out more at night. That's why you see deers get hit on the road at night. You know, they're always standing on the road. You know, they move around at night when it's cooler. And I remember that it was so hot that day. I remember it was 100 degrees and something must have spooked that deer for it to run out of the woods and come over the fence, over the wall, and like jump right in front of you. And then like I heard that when the safety team got to you, you were up in the gravel at turn 6, and they said you had the throttle wide open, the motor, you were still flat out on the gas.
Really?
Yeah, that's what
I hit the wall on throttle then.
Yeah, the car was still running, and the motor, I read that when the safety team got to you, you were up in the gravel at turn 6, and your car was in the wall, and the motor was going flat out. But your foot was wide open on the throttle.
I didn't know that, both. But so, it was funny because for example, on that day, I don't remember much. And of course, after that, for a good period of, let's say, the following 6 months, they were a bit of a struggle. Yeah. I remember a little bit, but I remember very little bit. But
so
they eventually start to come back, but small step by small, but little tiny steps. And of course, then when I got back to Brazil and I started doing the whole rehab, the whole thing, speech therapy, which is the rehab for the mind, right? I think is the name of it. So I remember things start to get together, but it still takes a while, man. It takes forever.
So how long you were in a coma for? A month? They had you in an induced coma for how long?
I heard that it's like they got me into induced coma to get the swelling of the brain to get away faster, right? Then I heard, because I don't remember much of that time, I heard it was like 28 days in coma, and then I was awake, and then I spent another month at the hospital just doing the beginning of the whole rehab thing.
Yeah. So just so the fans know that, when the deer jumped in front of you, I didn't see the accident. I only heard from people that you basically went right under the deer, in between its legs, and hit the deer on the belly, right on the head, on your helmet.
Yeah, on that, I don't know exactly how I hit it, Paul. I just remember my right front wing hitting it, and then I don't remember anything else.
You were like, my wing is broken.
No, it's those kind of thing that comes like that. I broke my front wing, you motherfucker. It was like, of course, it's like a split of a second and gone.
So you go home to Brazil, and now you're rehabbing it, and it takes like six months for like tell me like how that all went. Like what were you doing? What was the rehab doing?
It takes forever, man. Because now I look back. The first thing is like I was there at the hospital in Neenah, Wisconsin. And then the doctor came to my dad and said, man, you have to take your son to Brazil to do the rehab there. My dad said to the doctor, man, look, you saved my son's life the way you did. And now you want me to go back to Brazil to do the rehab. And then the doctor told my dad, it's important your son has to do the rehab on his native language. Because if he does it in English, he's already a bit messed up in there. If he does it in English, he might mess it all completely. So you have to do it in Portuguese.
So to learn your
So to
speech
learn the
back in
whole
your
thing, I had
natural
to come
language.
back and he actually gave me the name of a guy and so on. So I started doing everything with the people they told me to do it here. And it takes forever. I remember the first couple of months, it was like I got back to Brazil. It was like late October in 06. And from late October 06 up until, let's say, up until I remember I went to the Long Beach race in 07. I went to the Long Beach race and I was thinking, man, I'm 100% fine now and I'm ready to get back into the race car. And when I got back to Long Beach, I tried to get back to the rehab and I didn't know which floor it was anymore. I got there and I was like, which button should I press in the elevator, man? I don't remember this. Yeah, I think I'm still a little bit messed up.
Yeah, so you still weren't good then.
No,
still.
but the thing is one of the things that doctors kept on telling me all the time. You always think you're on the top of your game because it's kind of a mind protection. It's the mechanism that goes into your mind. It's kind of protection your body has. So you always think you're 100%, man, but you may not be. I remember at the beginning when I actually started the rehab, I thought I was 100% already on the beginning of the rehab. It was like coming back 2 months about after being at the hospital, 2 months after, and I thought I was 100% already. And then I started rehab. 1 week later, I thought, last week I thought I was 100%. But look, now I started getting this rehab done. Now I'm 100%.
Yeah.
And then that kept on going on and on and on for a month, then for 2 months. And then up until the end of 07, I used to have the same feeling.
Yeah. I mean, the test now, Cristiano, the test they do for concussion stuff now is, I think it's probably so much harder now because it's all computerized and they're measuring your eyes and you see some of the accidents, these guys, it just regular crashes and guy gets out of the car and he says, I feel fine. And they're like, no, you do the test. And they're like, no, you're not okay. Like, I think the protocols now are way more difficult than they were back then,
So at one way or the other, I did that race with Jimmy back in 08. And after that, I drove for, then I drove for Gentilossi for another race.
Yeah.
For the first 2 races in 2011. And that was it. And then I never tried anymore. And I was actually, I've been go-karting and doing some, just some playing go-karts.
Did you not want to, like, nothing really opened up at that time in sports cars in America, or nothing opened up in Brazil, like stock car or anything like that? Or are you just like, okay, I'm just going to ride my bicycle now and play with my kids?
I've actually tried a little bit, but, when I look back today, in my view, I didn't try hard enough. If I had tried a little harder, very likely I was going to find something to race. Either in stock cars here or in sports car in America or in prototypes. Very likely I was going to have a second chance. But I believe maybe I didn't try hard enough, or I'm not sure if I didn't want it that bad,
Yeah.
Which, looking back today, I think I wanted that bad because my race career was so short. So looking back today, no, I definitely wanted that bad. But I missed a little bit of attitude. I'm not sure, running behind trying to find a seat,
Yeah.
Need to have more attitude or something I missed. But,
Well,
it was the way it happened. So I'm happy the way it is today. It's part of my life. I have a lot of stories to tell. It's great memories, great, great feeling from the whole time I was racing.
well,
And
that's the thing. You have all these stories, and you're such a funny guy and likable guy. You're one of the fan favorites of the series. But like when you went back to Brazil, you just kind of disappeared, and nobody ever saw you again. Like I would ask Jimmy like every hey, what's up with Cristiano? I don't know. I talked to him about a year ago, and you just kind of like went back to Brazil and started riding your bicycle and just riding your mountain bike every day.
it's one thing. It's like, I think the recovery process, it comes on a bunch of different stages. Actually, there was a stage I was at that back in, see how things go slow. Back in '09, I got back to Brazil and started working with my brothers here and their
Yeah.
company and so on. So, and I was thinking, you know what? Now I'm going to ride my bike, but I'm going to ride my bike to race my bike. I'm going to race mountain biking here and cross country mountain bike.
Yeah.
So, '09 and a little bit still at 2010, I was training like a maniac, man. I was training and I was actually doing okay, for age groups and so on. Of course, not professionals, but on my age group, on my state championships and so on, I could do, I got to finish second in one race and top five. I was always in the top five, which was, for my level, it was great. But it got to a point that I thought, man, especially cross country mountain biking,
Yeah.
this is a lot of suffering, man. I'm not sure if this is what I would like to do that any longer, man. I think I'll
So
give up now because it's a lot of, man, it's too much on the anaerobic stuff,
yeah. So
Always,
do you still like road biking? What do you I see your Instagram. You're on your mountain bike a lot, but do you still road ride as well?
it's one thing I miss the most in my whole life is to road bike. Because road bike here where I live is not good at all.
Yeah.
The roads are crowded and people don't respect bicycles, zero respect for bicycles. And here's a place where I live. It's good for iron ore. So they extract a lot of iron ore to take to steel mills and so on.
Yeah.
So you're always racing. If you're on your road bike, you're racing wheel to wheel with iron ore, full of iron ore trucks,
Yeah.
which are heavy trucks, man. And I thought, I better stay on my mountain biking.
Yeah.
But I miss road biking a lot because, to get you fit, there's nothing like a road bike. You know better than me that, you do the whole thing. If you're racing, you do the whole training pretty much on the road bike. You're always on the mountain biking for racing and some specific training, but
Well, you lived in Miami with Bruno and Christian and those guys. There's not really good mountain biking in Miami. I can't imagine
Not
it's
at
very
all.
good there. So
Yeah.
you guys would road bike every single day, and then you'd come to the
Every single
races.
day.
And I don't know if you remember. Remember, we used to go riding. One time we went riding through
Yeah,
we
I
went
remember
riding
that.
through the hood in Long Beach into the bad part of town.
It was fun. I remember, the best year for riding. One of the best years of riding we had, Paul, is what when Jan Halen. Remember, there was my
Yeah.
teammate that they won in '06.
Yeah.
And
He's strong.
as a Belgian guy, he loved riding, man. He loved riding. Why are you gonna rent a car, man? You bike to the track and you ride bike back to the hotels. Wow, are you gonna do that, Jan? Yes,
Yeah.
of course. That's why the bike's made for. And
He
I thought,
he
it's a
owns
different
a
culture of biking, but I'm gonna hang out with this guy. This guy, And I remember hanging out with him. We used to go road bike everywhere.
he's still racing for Porsche in IMSA, and he owns a bike shop. He has a bicycle shop in Florida. So
Yeah,
he's still
he's
serious.
married in Florida, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
So
a great guy.
you
Hayden,
went
yes.
you went to work for your brother. Probably not a lot of people. Does your brother still paint helmets?
No, they painted the helmet up until '08 or '09.
Yeah.
And then they started doing back in '06, they were still painting helmets, but they started doing some clothes for riding. To Brazil and Chile, they were selling, their stuff. And I started, working there. And of course, it's a growing company. And well, it was fun. And of course, it's something I was dealing with pretty much all my life too, rather than racing cars, biking. I've always loved riding.
Yeah. So
So it was pretty
biking,
cool.
biking's one of your passions, and now
It
the
is.
racing career ended, and you're doing something that you're passionate about. You like biking, you like bike racing, and making clothes for that. So that's pretty cool.
So it's fun, yeah. It's fun to do that. And you're involved with the sport. And it's not at the same level, but not in the same way. But one way or the other, you get to see the whole thing from different angles. So it's nice.
So your kids now, you have 4 kids now with your wife?
I have 2 kids.
2 kids, 2 kids.
Yeah,
Any
13-year-old boy and a 10-year-old girl.
any interest? Are they interested in racing, or you're like, no racing?
No, I actually took my kid, the boy. I took him to go kart
Yeah.
couple of times, and he loved it and he likes it. But at the same time, he thinks, nah, the go-kart track's too far, man. Too far away. I have to drive an hour to get there. He likes it, but he doesn't love it. He doesn't like it enough at the end of the day.
Well, that'll save a lot of money then if he's
Well,
not serious
and
about it.
he loves soccer.
Yeah.
I say to him, yeah, keep on playing soccer, man. Much, much nicer, much bigger sport in Brazil. Can give you a lot better future because, racing in Brazil, it's not the same level as soccer. So he's playing soccer.
Well, I mean, it's like I said before, you were one of the fan favorites. Everybody loved. You always had a smile on your face. Even when it was a bad day, you were always smiling. I don't think I've ever seen you mad at anybody. And that's why the fans always loved you. And people, like I said, people would ask me all the time, whatever happened to Cristiano da Matta? Because you just kind of disappeared. You never really did TV or did anything. Like, once you decided to go back to Brazil, you just kind of went back.
Like I came back to Brazil and I'm in Belo Horizonte, which is the city I'm from, which is not São Paulo or Rio. So I'm a Brazilian redneck, if you know what I mean, Paul.
Yeah.
So there's not much media here, not many things. And as I said to you, I didn't go after trying to find a good ride in motor racing for me. I don't go after to find too much media or anything like. So I'm hanging out on my own here and I'm happy here. So it's fine.
Yeah.
But I love talking about racing, and because I like it much more than I used to, because now I talk about racing so little that when I get to talk about racing, it's a blast, man.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's good to see you, my brother, and it's good to see you laugh again. And I miss you.
And I miss you too, Paul. I miss everyone, man. I every year it starts, and I always tell me, Cristiano, you have to go to more races to see all your old buddies, man. You have to go to races to see all your old buddies, because you're gonna see a lot of people there. Not only the drivers, because the drivers that are racing today, I don't know pretty much. I don't think I know any of them because they're much younger, totally different generation, right? But I'm sure if you get there to the teams and to the mechanics and so on, you're gonna have a bunch of friends there.
Yeah. Well,
So
if you ever get out this way, we need to wrap it up now. But if you ever get out this way, I'll get you a mountain bike. I have lots of mountain bike trails right by my house, and we'll get out. We'll get out for a ride.
No, do it, Paul. Next time I'll go to, what? Which is going to be World Cup in the US next year, correct?
Yeah.
I'm planning to spend the whole month there.
Well, come by and see me.
I'll give you a buzz, man.
All right. Perfect. It's good to talk to you.
We'll get to go for a ride. It'll be nice, Paul.
All right. It's good to talk to you, Cristiano.
Great to see you, Paul. Good to talk to you, man.